It was a rare moment of stillness in the usually hectic life of Elon Musk. Inside his office, amidst the whirlwind of innovation and endless ambition that had defined his career, a new idea was quietly taking shape. What would happen, he wondered, if people didn't recognize him? How would they treat someone who appeared to have nothing? The thought had come to him during a casual conversation with a colleague about human behavior, and it gnawed at him. Soon, it became an irresistible challenge to walk among ordinary people and test the core of their humanity, without anyone knowing who he truly was. Weeks later, the plan was set. On a dreary Thursday afternoon, he stood before a mirror, the transformation nearly complete. His disguise was deceptively simple. Second-hand clothing from a local thrift store, worn-out sneakers barely holding together, and a scruffy, unkempt wig. A small makeup team had aged his face just enough to erase the sharp features everyone knew from magazine covers and headlines. He no longer resembled the billionaire inventor, but rather any man who had fallen on hard times. Elon wasn't looking to humiliate anyone, but rather to understand the true nature of human behavior. He wanted to see if people could look past the surface, if they could truly see a person for who they were, not what they appeared to be. The Copper Elm, a high-end restaurant in Santa Fe, New Mexico, known for its exclusive clientele, would serve as the perfect stage. His heart raced as he took one last look at his reflection and stepped out the door. He wasn't just about to dine out. He was about to launch a social experiment that would reveal the darkest truths about human nature. The restaurant was everything Elon had imagined, luxurious and refined. Crystal chandeliers bathed the room in soft light, and the hum of polite conversation filled the air, punctuated by the occasional clink of silverware and glasses. As Elon entered, the room subtly shifted. Patrons briefly glanced up but most quickly returned to their meals. The staff, however, couldn't tear their eyes away from him. With every step, his worn shoes scuffed against the polished hardwood floor. The hostess, impeccably dressed in black, approached cautiously. She took in his appearance, and for the first time in her career, her professional smile faltered. "Can I help you?" she asked, voice polite but strained. "I'd like a table for one," Elon replied, his voice soft yet steady. She hesitated, glancing over at the bar where the manager was watching. "We're fully booked tonight," she said quickly, her eyes darting nervously to a row of empty tables. Elon said nothing. He simply stood, allowing the awkward silence to stretch, forcing her to acknowledge the lie. From across the room, Sophia, a young waitress who had been working at the Copper Elm for only a few months, noticed the exchange. She had a kind heart, saving money for culinary school, and something about the man struck her. Not pity but curiosity. She could sense he wasn't just another homeless wanderer. "I'll seat him," Sophia called out, stepping forward before the hostess could dismiss Elon entirely. Her voice cut through the room and all eyes turned toward her. The manager scowled but said nothing. Sophia led Elon to a small table by the kitchen doors, far from the prime seating areas but a table nonetheless. "Thank you," Elon said sincerely, his voice carrying gratitude. Sophia placed a menu in front of him. "Take your time," she said, her warm tone in stark contrast to the whispers swirling around her. As Elon flipped through the menu, he could feel the judgmental stares from all corners of the room. The whispers were not subtle. "Who's that? Is he even supposed to be here? What kind of man wears shoes like that?" Their words sliced through the air, but Elon remained composed, his mind focused on the unfolding experiment. Sophia returned to take his order and Elon chose something simple: soup and bread. "That's all?" she asked, her tone laced with surprise. "Yes, just that," Elon replied. She nodded and disappeared into the kitchen, leaving Elon alone with his thoughts and the cold glares of the room. He could feel their eyes, but what stung more were the assumptions. People often spoke of kindness, but in practice, how often was it extended to someone who appeared to be less than or unworthy? As the meal was prepared, the tension in the room mounted. The judgment was palpable. A man at a nearby table leaned over to his companion. "What's management thinking letting someone like that in here?" he muttered, loud enough for Elon to hear. Sophia returned with a steaming bowl of tomato bisque and a small basket of bread. She set the dishes before him with the same care she would for any other guest. "Enjoy your meal," she said, her smile genuine, not laced with the disdain that hung in the air. "Thank you," Elon said, meeting her gaze. In that moment he saw something real. something rare. He had come here to test humanity, and yet Sophia had shown him more kindness than anyone else in the room. She wasn't just serving food, she was serving compassion. Elon ate in silence, his mind racing. The restaurant, once full of warmth, now felt heavy with judgment. A young couple whispered nervously, wondering if he might ask them for money. Another server muttered under his breath, "Waste of space." The more Elon observed, the more the message became clear. Society's assumptions were often rooted in appearance and appearances alone. But amidst the judgment, Sophia stood out, a beacon of integrity. She moved swiftly between tables, her patience unshaken by the occasional condescending remark. When an older woman snidely asked her why she was wasting time on him, Sophia stood tall. "Everyone deserves respect," she said firmly. As Elon finished his meal, the moment he had been waiting for arrived. He stood up slowly, drawing the attention of every diner, every staff member. Sophia, her tray of glasses in hand, stopped in her tracks. The manager, having watched him all evening, approached briskly. "Excuse me, sir," he said, his tone clipped. "If you're finished, I'll have to ask you to leave." Elon raised his hand, cutting him off. "I'll leave shortly," he said, his voice steady but carrying an edge. "But before I go, I have something to say." The room fell into a tense silence. Every eye in the restaurant was on him, and Elon savored the moment before pulling off his wig, revealing his familiar face. Gasps rippled through the room. "It's me," Elon said, his voice calm but full of weight. "I wanted to see how people treat someone they believe to be beneath them. I wanted to see if kindness could transcend appearances." He paused, his eyes scanning the room before landing on Sophia. "One person in this room treated me with respect. One person saw me as a human being and not just a homeless man." Sophia stood frozen, her heart pounding. Elon smiled at her, his voice warm yet firm. "Sophia," he said, "you showed empathy when it was easier to look away. That's the kind of character that matters." Sophia's face flushed red as she walked slowly toward him. Elon handed her an envelope. "This is for you," he said. Sophia opened the envelope, her hands trembling. Inside was a note and a check for $50,000. She read the note aloud, tears filling her eyes. "Sophia, thank you for your kindness. Use this to follow your dreams. Culinary school, your own restaurant. The world needs more people like you." The room, once filled with judgment, now buzzed with awe and surprise. The manager, caught off guard, was left speechless. Elon turned to him. "For this restaurant," he said, "consider this a reminder. Respect all people no matter how they appear." As he made his way to the door, Elon paused and turned back to Sophia. "Never lose that spark of kindness," he said, his voice sincere. "It's rare and powerful." With that, the door swung closed behind him, leaving a room full of people with nothing to do but reflect on their actions. The Copper Elm would never be the same. And neither would the people who witnessed that night. Days later, news of Elon's undercover experiment spread like wildfire across the internet, sparking debates on kindness, appearances, and empathy. Sophia, suddenly thrust into the spotlight, was interviewed by journalists from around the world. She spoke simply yet powerfully. It wasn't about knowing who he was. It was about treating people with dignity, no matter their circumstances. Sophia's life changed in ways she couldn't have imagined. The money gave her a chance to pursue her dreams, but the lesson she learned that night would stay with her forever. And for Elon, the experiment was a reminder of the truth he had always known. Kindness in its purest form transcends wealth, status, and appearances. The world would move on, but for those who had witnessed it, the impact of that one small act of kindness would never be forgotten.